Whenever you're ready, Grandma.
Okay, dear.
So you can start on the first one. What's the question?
Mum, what kind of house did you grow up in? And what was the old neighbourhood like? Well, our first home was in Pukekohe, and I was there from the age 1 to 9. And I started school at the convent there. I remember this dear old lady asking me, what did I want to be when I left school? I can remember saying nurse, and I always had that in my mind. That's what I was going to be. Yeah. I had we had a very talented art teacher there, one of the nuns, and every season she would clear the whole room and she'd paint the next season. So she'd paint spring, you know, with all the lambs and the spring flowers. And oh, she was a beautiful artist. And then she'd do autumn and summer and winter and that, you know.
That's wonderful.
It was really great. She was a lovely person too. Yeah, yes, I decided I want to be a nurse. I never changed that.
How old would you have been when you were asked that question, do you think?
5.
Oh, wow.
It was my first day at school.
That's incredible.
Dad was taking me to school on his bike, and because we didn't have cars in those days. And this dear old lady stopped us, you know, and she said to me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, yes.
What's the next question?
Mum, what was your favourite holiday as a child, and how did your family celebrate it? Well, our favourite one was when we went to Mount Maunganui, and at that time there were no houses or anything there, you know, and you just camped. But we had an amazing holiday, and it was great, you know. We had so much fun. We played a lot of ball games and skipping and all those games you played, sand castles and that sort of thing you play at the beach, you know. And we all loved it. I think that was the one we remember the most. We did have other holidays where we went camping and that, but...
Would you say that was an often one? You'd go to Mount Maunganui quite often?
We'd go over there. Well, you had to go by train. We lived in Pukekohe, which is just out of Auckland. Yeah. So we had to go by train, and because Granddad, my father, worked in the railways, and he worked in the clerical department, and he often used to relieve the station masters at different stations and that, and we'd go by train wherever we went, you know, and that was great. That was always fun. And Mum, what's this other one? Did I miss one? Oh no, I did that. And what were my favourite shoes? And my favourite shoes were, I can still see them, a black patent leather pair. And I always wanted a black patent leather pair of shoes. And I got them. And I got them because my Mum was in the hospital. She was having Mickey, and I had to stay home, look after the family, you know. And it was my birthday. Mickey was born on the 12th of October. No, the 12th, yes, 12th of October. And I was born on the 27th. And so when my birthday came around, I couldn't believe it. There was my black patent leather shoes.
Wow.
And I was so thrilled.
Did you know that, I think it's you, Tara, and Max were all born on the 27th of the month?
Yes,
Isn't that amazing?
it is amazing, isn't it? There's quite a few in our family.
I think there's more, I just can't think of them.
Mum, which were your favourite pets and what made them special? I had a dog called Trixie, and she was amazing because when I went nursing, she of course couldn't come to the home and she had to stay at home with Mum and Dad, you know. But when I went on night duty, and I don't know how she even knew this, she would come and sit on the lawn outside the nurse's home, and she'd come at 6 o'clock, and she'd go home at 6 o'clock in the morning. And the girls would say to me when I came off, your dog was up here again last night. And she always knew when I was on night duty.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's amazing because I never used to say anything about it, you know. And every time it was my turn to go on night, she'd be there, yeah. Almost like a protection.
Would she wait for you until you finished your shift?
Mm-hmm.
So she'd walk you home as well?
No, I lived at the hospital.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And no, she'd just go home. Yeah, just quietly go home.
Oh, clever
And
girl.
come back again the next night, the same time, until my duty finished in that on that particular night shift. And when it's finished, she'd go, but she wouldn't come back till I started again. And it might be several months before I start again. But she'd come back again at that time. And I never knew how she knew that I was back on night duty again. Yeah. Amazing.
Must have a very special bond, I think.
Yeah, they're amazing. Yeah. Mum, when you were a child, what did you want to be when you grew up? Well, I wanted to be a nurse, and I was a nurse.
And when you started your nursing, Grandma, what were some of your strongest memories? What were some of the memories you remember most about nursing? Because didn't you end up being head nurse? Didn't you start off at the bottom and you ended up being kind of high up in the ranks?
I was a very good practical nurse. I wasn't a brilliant academic nurse, but I was very good practical, you know. And I just loved every part of it, you know. And there's no particular part that I didn't like. Yeah.
What happened to that? What was that part you told me about where one of the nurses, I don't think it was the head nurse, grabbed you, or what happened with that?
She pulled my ears. Yes, we had a sister that was very, very, very stern, you know, and she used to hit the nurses. She'd hit them on the back as they're going up the corridor, you know, and she'd growl at them. And it was my turn to be on, and it was my first term in the ward, so I was on as junior, and she asked me to read a notice behind a door, and there were 2 doors, and I read the wrong door, as per usual, and I was all gowned up and everything to do this procedure. And of course she came in, and I was reading the wrong notice, and she got me by the ears and pulled me behind the door, the right door, you know. And so I just very quietly laid down the tray, and I just said to her, "You're so good, you do it." And she said, "Pick that tray up." And I said, "I will, when you apologise." But I said, "Not before." And anyway, she wouldn't apologise. And I said, "I'm not used to being touched." And anyway, in the end, I wouldn't pick it up. And so she left the room and she went down to the kitchen. And the head nurse found her down there crying. And she came back and she said to me, "What did you do to Phillips? She's down in the kitchen crying. And all we can get out of her is that little nurse procedure. I never thought you'd do such a thing. I never thought you'd do such a thing." And anyway, they said, "What did you do?" And I told them, and they said, "Oh, will you go and do it now then?" I said, "No, not until she apologises." So eventually, about after half an hour more, she came back and she did apologise. And I said, and she said to me, "Would I do it? Do I do the procedure?" I said, "Yes." But I said, "First of all, I would like to apologise for the way and the manner in which I spoke, because that's how I'd been brought up. You know, she was my senior, and you respected your seniors. But I said, I'm not used to being touched or hit." And I said, if it happened again, that I would report it to the board. But I said, I am sorry for the way I spoke to you. And she was always very firm with me when I was on duty, you know. And then they put me on night duty. And she said to me, and it was a very lonely ward, right out on its own, you know. And she said to me, "Are you frightened at night?" And I said, "Yes, I am." So she told the girls that they were to turn the lights. Told one of my classmates she was to turn the light on at night when she finished her duty, so that the lights were on around the ward. And she was a character, Mary. And she said she's big enough to turn her own lights on. So she didn't turn them on. But she forgot that her sister's room overlooked the ward, and she could see that the lights went on. So the next morning she was on duty at 5 o'clock. And did she give Mary a hand? She got told off and called her a coward and all that sort of thing. Yeah. And she used to hit Mary. She'd hit Mary all the way, you know, just like this, you know, when she's going off duty and that. And Mary was a big girl, and she'd never complain. And I said, and she used to do it to all the girls. And of course, when the first time she touched me was
that time, yeah.
And I just thought, no, I'm not putting up with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought I'd be sacked, but it wasn't. I thought she'd tell the matron, but she didn't tell her. And I had a patient, young chap there, and because it was such a lonely ward, and that he wouldn't sleep all night because he was concerned, because we used to have peeping toms would come around, and he was concerned because I was on my own, and he wouldn't, every time we went in there, he'd be awake and I'd say to him, Neil, you must go to sleep. You must go to sleep. He said, I can't sleep while you're on duty. Yeah, because he was afraid, you know, for me. And so, anyway, this sister left some months later. And then when I sat my finals and graduated, she came back to see me get my medal. Yes, she said she'd only come to see one person get their medal, and that was me.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it was quite a compliment from her. She was a very good nurse, extremely good. And I was always very polite to her, you know. I'd never be rude to her, anything like that. And yes, so that was quite. But other than that, I was put in charge of the children's ward when I was quite young, you know, and the matron asked me, we were losing our sister, she was going to do a course, and she asked me if I'd do acting sister in this ward. And I said, oh, you know, and she said, we'll support you. And she said they'd spoken to all the other doctors and senior nurses, and they had suggested me that I be given it. But the medical superintendent didn't like me, and I didn't like him. He was such a bully, you know. And anyway, one day I'd gone too far, and I was sitting in the office, and I was actually crying, and the other doctors had come down to a round, and they said, what's the matter? And I said, oh, that Daddy Pa. And we used to call him Daddy Pa. And anyway, they never said anything. They went away. And the next day, they came back and they said, we've told him that he is not to go near you. This is the senior doctor. That he was not to go near you, and he was not to talk to you the way he does. Yeah.
That's great.
They were the only two that ever had a problem with. Yeah.
So I had a question for you, Grandma.
Mm?
I had a question for you. Tell me about how you met Grandad.
Oh, that was funny. He was actually a patient in the ward. He had a fractured leg. And I was a senior in the ward. And the people with legs and that, you know, they weren't, that while he looked after them and things like that, they weren't critical. And I knew who he was, but he wasn't my priority, so I didn't take much notice of him. And my priority were the very sick patients. And anyway, then the next day he'd left the hospital, and I had met him. I didn't know what he looked like. And then he made friends with another boy called John in there, and he used to ask the senior register if he could take him out and go to the football at the weekend, and they'd go and have dinner somewhere, and they'd get home, you know, about 10 when they were supposed to be in earlier. But John wasn't living at the hospital. He was living in his own place. But I still didn't know him. I never saw him. But the afternoon supervisor, oh, she was a old so-and-so. And she said to me, as soon as those boys arrive, you're to ring me immediately they come in. So I wouldn't hear them. All I'd hear would be crash, and it would be Johnny our Penny, the boy he'd taken out. He would have walked into the flower table. So I used to pick him up, put him into bed, then I'd call her, and she never found him out of bed. And she used to get so mad with me. And anyway, and John by this time would have gone, so I didn't see him. But anyway, I actually met him at a dance, and he asked me if he could take me home. Well, another boy had asked me if he could take me home, and I didn't want to go home with him. So I said to him, no, I was going back with the nurses I'd come with, you know. But having said that, when John asked me, it wasn't the thing to turn around and go back with somebody else. You know, that was rude, so you didn't do that sort of thing. So I didn't.
But you wanted to, though.
Mm.
But you wanted to.
Yes, I did, yes. And anyway, I thought, oh, well, that's the end of him. I probably won't see him again. But I did meet up with him again in about 2 weeks at the same club. No. And we were only able to go, we only had dancing leave about once a month. Yeah. And anyway, I went and I met him there. And we both knew from the moment we met, you know, and that was it. Yeah. But during this course of him taking this other boy out, I used to get told off every weekend. So, and I remember going to the going off duty this night and going into the nurse's sitting room, and I said, if I ever get hold of that Dobson, I'll kill him. I'll kill him. I was so tired of being told off, you know. And when we got engaged, the doctors came up behind me, and they were going like that. I said, what are you doing? My collar. They said, we want to see your ring. And they said, what are you going to do? Make him pay for it for the rest of his life? I said, oh, good mind too. And that's how we met. Yeah. But we always knew. I said, when you meet the right one, you know. And I said, there's no hesitation.
How did Grandad propose to you, Grandma?
We went to Palmerston. He never ever proposed to me. He just assumed. We went to Palmerston and he bought me an engagement ring. And I said to him, but you've never asked me. And he said, but we are. We're getting married. And that was it. And he knew, we both knew we were, you know. And that was it. But when you had to ask Dad, because in those days you asked fathers, you know, and my father never ever swore. Never ever swore. I never heard him say one bad word, you know. And my John, that's all he ever did was swear.
Yep.
And when I took him home, I thought, oh dear. But I asked him not to swear or not to say anything hard because, you know, it'll offend Dad. And then I thought, no, Dad, I'll have to see him as he is. And Dad will be too shrewd to know that I've asked him not to. And they got him like that.
They did?
They really were.
That's awesome.
And John said, I remember your father, the first meal, they had. I was going to show John how I could cook. Well, I cooked rice, and 3 of the other nurses decided to come down for dinner that night, and they didn't tell me. But when they came into the kitchen, they saw I was cooking dinner, and they said, "Mara never puts salt in anything." So they all, each one of them, in turn, salted the rice, and you could have stood a knife up it. It was so salty. Anyway, I came round to serve it out and take a mouthful. And of course the family said, "Oh Ma, this is terrible." And so they all wanted a drink of water. And they asked Dad if my father, if he'd like a drink of water. And he said, "No, thank you." And my John said, "I never forget your father. He sat there and he ate all that rice and he never complained." And he said, when he finished, he said, turned to me and he said, "That was very nice, dear." That was what he was like. Yeah. He was a lovely person.
Amazing. Well, you want to do maybe just 1 or 2 more questions in the book, and then we'll take a break. Do you want to do 1 or 2 more questions from the book, and then we'll take a break?
Let's see what's in here.
Where do you know who we're up to?
Well, who were some of your favourite relatives? And what made them special? I had a favourite cousin, and she was very practical girl, a lovely girl, and she could sew and do all sorts of things, you know, and I always admired her, and she would be my favourite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mum, what's your favourite memory of your mum? Your dad? What's your favourite memory of your mum? Your dad? I don't quite understand that.
Let's see, Grandma. What's your favourite memory of your mum and your dad?
And your dad?
Yeah, they just wrote it wrong.
When they played music together, because they're both pianists, and Nana had a beautiful voice. She was an opera singer, and they called her New Zealand's Nightingale because she had such a beautiful voice. And Dad, he played about 5 instruments. He played the piano accordion, the violin, what else? I can't remember the others. He played about 5 altogether. And he had a beautiful touch on the piano. Nana didn't play the piano so well. She played in timing to his singing, you know, but Dad, his music just flowed. And what I remember mostly of him was that when we went to bed at night, he'd always play the piano. And, it was lovely.
So what's your favourite memory of just with you and your mother? Just you two? Or just of your mother, just by herself?
I think going shopping, you know, when I was going nursing, we went shopping together and got all my things and that sort of thing, you know, and had a day out, and that was great. And I appreciated the fact that she'd take that time to do it for me, you know.
And what about your father? What's your favourite memory of your father just by himself?
We walked every weekend, every Sunday. We went for a walk. And rain, hail or snow, we'd go walking. And Nana would say, "You're mad, you two. You go walking, doesn't matter what the weather's like." And we did. And that was our favourite. I always remember that. I'll never forget. Yeah.
And what was the story you told me about great-granddad Tame? How he tried to teach you and your siblings?
Teach us Maori. Well, he employed a tutor to teach us Maori. And we had about 2 weeks lessons. We all thought it was funny. And so at the end of the 2 weeks he said, that's it, no more. They're not paying attention. So, and the tutor was a chap who he was on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He spoke Maori beautifully, but we, at that age, I think I was about 9, we didn't appreciate it, you know, and we were very sorry later on that we hadn't taken more notice. Yeah.
Was it frowned upon to speak Māori back then?
Mm-hmm.
Was it frowned upon to speak Māori?
You weren't allowed to speak Maori at school.
You get in trouble?
You get in trouble. You get strapped through it. So we spoke, and because my mother was European and didn't speak Maori, my father would not let anybody speak Maori in front of her. They had to speak English, so she understood what they were talking about. Yes.
And so maybe there was no chance of her thinking that people were talking about her.
That's right.
Yeah, without her knowing.
Yes, they always had to be polite. She came first.
And what kind of man was Tame?
He's a very humble man, and very polite. He was a man that everybody respected. He just had that mana about him, you know, and people just naturally respected him, you know, and he spoke English beautifully, better than the Europeans. Yeah.
I remember you saying he never said a bad word about anyone.
I never ever heard him say a bad word about anybody. And I remember my sister and I going for a walk with him one day, and we saw a lady across the road. She must have had a funny hat on, and we started to giggle, and we pointed at her, and Granddad said, now, dear, now, very quietly. We felt about that big, because we knew he disapproved of what we'd done, you know. Didn't go out to us, just now. Yes.
It's amazing. Okay, Grandma. What was your relationship like with your family when you were growing up?
Very good. Yeah, it was a loving relationship.
Yep. Did you get along with your brothers and sisters?
Yes, but the usual.
Typical.
You don't, you each have your own opinions and that, you know. But on the whole, we got on very well together.
It seemed like Granddad and great-granddad Tame and great-grandma Alice,
Yes.
was it Alice?
Alison.
Would have had a pretty strong hold on you kids, I think.
Oh, they're very firm.
They were.
Particularly Grandma. Yeah, Nana, she was very stubborn.
Yep. Is that where we get it from? Okay, this is a good one. What's the best thing your mum or dad taught you?
My mother taught me, I think, music.
Okay.
Dad, he played music and that, but Mum taught me to sing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Dad taught me, well, I used to listen to him playing the piano and things like that. And I used to play by ear, with him. Mm.
And what kind of life lessons did they teach you?
Mm.
What kind of life lessons did they teach you?
One was to be honest, to be honest and truthful, and
Another pillow, Grandma.
let's see. Yeah.
Is that enough? Can you get behind you?
Okay, yeah, okay, dear. It's good. To be honest and truthful,
Mm-hmm.
and what else? To be helpful, thoughtful of others, that sort of thing, and to help others where you could. Mm.
It's a trait you don't find much these days, is it? What rules did your parents have, and which ones drove you crazy?
I don't know that any of them drove me crazy. We always had to be home at certain hours,
Okay.
and when we were told to be home,
Mm-hmm.
we had to be home at that time. Particularly with Mum, she was very stern.
Mm-hmm.
But and Dad was very, very firm as well, but not quite so stern, He was softer.
I don't know about that question. What are one or two things that you didn't tell your parents about?
Oh, Lord.
If that one's too difficult, you can just say pass.
Yeah,
Just pass.
just pass because there's not much that we didn't.
Tell your
As a
parents.
family,
Yeah.
you just talk,
Yeah. You just.
know.
That was part of being truthful, wasn't it?
Yes.
What was the worst mischief you got into when you were younger? I can't imagine you being mischievous, Grandma.
I didn't usually get into mischief because I was too quiet.
I can see that.
I didn't have. Now, Patty was very, very bright and very, She talked to a lamppost, but I was much shyer.
Right. Who was the best teacher you ever had?
Best teacher I ever had was a teacher called Sister Leonard.
Was that the one that did the paintings?
She's the one that did the painting.
Okay.
And she was the one that I learned the most of. I've never forgotten her.
Mm-hmm.
I had other teachers, but I never ever forgot her
Mm-hmm.
because she had this wonderful way of expressing herself in paint.
That's amazing. Did you play a sport, and what did you like best about it?
Basketball.
Really? You played basketball? I never would have guessed that.
Yes, I played basketball.
And what did you like best about it?
Well, I played tennis.
Okay.
I played, I'd say I like tennis more than basketball.
Okay.
But as a team sport, I played basketball. And I played tennis. And I became very good at tennis, But, yes, and I think they were the two main ones
Mm-hmm.
that I loved.
Who taught you to drive, And what was your first car?
And Granddad taught me to drive.
John
And the
Dobson
first-
Granddad? You mean John Dobson Granddad?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Dad, he taught me to drive. And it was in a little Ford. And we did it up. It was
Okay.
an old Ford we bought for, didn't cost us very much. But I did the upholstery
Oh wow,
and he did the mechanical work.
that's amazing. What colour was it?
Blue.
Blue. Did you ever win an award you were proud of, and what was it in honour of?
What's that here?
Did you ever win an award you were proud of, and what was it in honour of?
I won an award for, I won the club championships in tennis.
That's a pretty impressive award.
Yes, face it was, yes. Yeah. And that was the one that I liked the most.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went nursing. We didn't used to play very much. Not very much at all.
Because you're pretty busy working.
Yes. We couldn't play. You just have to take your turn, you know, in being able to play.
Mm-hmm.
But it was good. I liked it.
I like tennis too, actually. How did you spend your free time before having children?
I guess gardening, playing the piano, or the usual
Mm-hmm.
housework.
Right, the usual things. What was it like for you to become a mother?
Wonderful.
You enjoyed it?
Well, it was, it's a feeling you never ever can explain. You know, all of a sudden, it doesn't suddenly hit you when you have a child,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But about a day later, this overwhelming feeling came that I was responsible for this baby, you know. And it does, it really hits you.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite? Well, I'm going to go through your children, Grandma, and have you tell me your favourite memory. And it can be any point in their life. So what's your favourite memory of Mum?
She was very helpful. She helped me when I was sick,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when I was quite sick and that. And she was also very responsible, you know, being the eldest. She was very responsible in the house and that. And yeah, and she had a good sense of humour. You know,
Good, great sense of humour.
Yeah.
What about Jude?
And Jude was quieter. Jude was very helpful. She'd do anything for you. So would Marilyn, so they both. But Jude always anticipated what you needed, you know, and she'd do it.
And what about Sue?
And Sue was very, they're all very similar, you know. Sue was very helpful too, and very determined, you know, and very protective, you know.
She is very much that way, isn't she?
Yes.
I love Sue. I love all my family. What about Debbie?
And Debbie was younger, and she was fun, always laughing, Debbie. Yes,
And out of the boys, John's the oldest, isn't he?
yes.
So what's your favourite memory of John?
John was always very caring.
He is a very caring
And
man, isn't
he's still the same.
he? He is.
Very caring and very helpful, you know. And if he saw me carrying something, he'd say, "Put that down, Mum, I'll come and get it." You know. Yeah. Boys were all like that, you know. And one of the things the boys, they used to always kiss me goodbye before they went out, which used to annoy their girlfriends.
Well, it's more important, isn't it, Grandma?
They couldn't understand why the boys had to give me a kiss before they went out. And they said, "Why do you have to kiss your mother?" And they said, "We don't have to kiss her. We kiss her because we love her." And so they always kissed me before they went out.
Good boys you had.
Yeah, they were good.
So what's your favourite memory of Simon?
Well, they're all very similar.
Yeah, they played all sort of same sports?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, mainly football and what else they used to play? Mason played football, or rugby as they called it then. Yeah.
But did Simon do anything that sticks out in your memory that you remember him as a child or as an adult that you think about every now and then?
Simon was very kind.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's got a
And
softer
very,
heart, doesn't he?
He was also very thoughtful.
Yeah,
In fact, they all were, you know.
yeah.
Patrick was very independent.
I think he still is.
He is. He'd want to do whatever, because he was the youngest. Whatever the others did, he wanted to do too.
He's very confident.
Yeah. Didn't matter when he was tiny, when he was only 3, he wanted to make his own bed. Yeah. I tidied it one day, and he came out and he said, "Mummy, you touched my bed." Yeah. So I never touched it again. I thought if I want him to make his bed, I've got to let him do it the way he wants to.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing, Grandma. It's great. There's a lot of parents out there that would love that.
So he used to make it every morning. I'd have to leave it exactly as it was. They've all turned out very good husbands, because most of the girls they've married are more academic.
Yep.
Then some of them hate housework,
Mhm.
where the boys, they like a tidy house and that.
They do.
And they'll tidy up and do things. And,
Yep.
you know, and they'll cook.
Yep.
So,
You and Granddad have done a fantastic job in raising your children.
and they could make their own beds and do their own rooms, and you know.
Well, even Patrick was saying, you know, it's proof how good a job that you and Granddad did at raising your children because of the grandchildren and how they've turned out.
Yes.
Because, you know, there's no criminals in the family, there's, you know, there's no real bad people in the family, they're all good, upstanding people.
Yeah, they are.
I think
Yeah,
that's...
somebody said that to me. Your family are very, very bright. And I said, well, it depends what you mean by bright. But they're all bright in their own way.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Very witty.
yeah,
Lots of wit.
yeah.
Okay, Grandma, what advice would you pass along about being a mum?
Always let your children know you love them. It doesn't matter what they do. If you growl at them, or they've done something wrong, and you have to correct them and that sort of thing, growl at them, you should always follow it up. But don't forget I love you.
It's important.
I think it's really important
That is very
that they remember that.
That is very important.
You might have to tell them off, but you should always follow it up with "I love you."
Mm-hmm. Where is the most interesting place you've ever visited? Because you've seen some places, Grandma, haven't you? Didn't you and Granddad go to Tahiti to go see Mum, and you've been to Australia?
We didn't go to Tahiti.
You didn't go to
We
Tahiti.
went to Bali.
Bali.
Yeah, we went to Singapore. We went to Penang.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess Singapore was fascinating.
Was it?
Yeah.
It's a pretty broad collection of
Yeah.
different cultures there, isn't it?
Yes. They were quite amazing because you could put an order for a seat in the morning to your maid and it'd be made by that night.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Mm. They had wonderful skills like
Mhm.
that.
Good tailors.
Mm.
Who are the people you most admire and why? Or maybe just one person you admire.
Ah,
You had a lot of admiration for your father, didn't you?
our Dad, yes. Dad would be my inspiration
I think so.
because he was, he never criticised, he
Mhm.
never, you know, and we enjoyed things together.
What are some of your favourite family recipes?
I think chocolate cake.
I was going to say there's three things that come to mind when I think of your food. It's shepherd's pie,
Yeah,
your chocolate cake,
yeah,
and the chocolate pudding.
chocolate pudding. They'd be about my favourites.
They're definitely mine, without a doubt. I can't think of anything else that comes to mind, really, besides... Oh, you used to make a good meatloaf.
Oh yes,
You made a good meatloaf.
yes, meatloaf I enjoyed making.
But most of the shepherd's pie sticks out in my mind all the way. That's always going to be special.
Absolutely. 10:45.
You want to go up for morning tea?
I just wonder if we should go out for morning tea. I've got to get my
Your walker?
walker from round there
Uh-huh.
and take the flowers off. I'll just put them over there,
Okay, I'll do that.
and then I'll get the girls.
Well, maybe we should take a break, and you can have some morning tea, and then we'll come down, and then I'll have you do the messages for Quinn and Tara
Yeah.
for Christmas.
Okay.
How about that?